And welcome back to this module of technical analysis called Trend Identification. My name is Chris Mitchell. I hope to bring you this lovely TA video and really begin to put an understanding behind what it means to identify a trend. So what we're going to be doing today is identifying those higher highs and those higher lows, and what it means to have a clear stop and reverse point. Now, this is one of the simplest forms of technical analysis, and I really do want to say this before we get into the video. I've looked around all around the internet and through my past courses and studies I've done over the past years, and there really is no clear definition of how to identify a trend or a clear stop and reverse point. It's kind of funny because it is quite literally the crux behind, every trader's arsenal. And it almost seems like there's just some kind of disconnect out there on the information on how to actually identify these things. So my goal in this video is to demystify this indicator and really provide you with a lot of examples. So let's get into it, starting with what is a trend. So in the simplest form, a trend refers to a trading asset's momentum for a given time frame. The momentum may be the most easily identified by comparing at least 4 pivot points in the price action, which may form a trend in 2 separate ways. One, an uptrend. So you want to have 2 consecutive points where the most recent price point has made a higher high above the previous high. 2, or B, point B, right? You'd want to have 2 consecutive price points where the most recent price point has made a higher low. And that would be an uptrend. And what is a downtrend? So a downtrend is 2 consecutive price points where the most recent price has made a lower high in relation to the previous high, and 2 consecutive price points where the most recent price has made a lower low in relation to the previous low. So really want to identify the word pivot as being defined as a swing. We'll use the word interchangeably. So let's get into some price action and identify some pivots, some swing highs, and then identify an uptrend, and then we'll take a look and see what is a downtrend. So if I can get my trusty screen here to pop up here. And I actually thought this is the NASDAQ getting a bit of a bounce here today. Today is September 27th, 2022. And Bitcoin as well getting a bit of a bounce, as they do trade pretty interchangeably. When NASDAQ's going up, Bitcoin tends to go up. And when NASDAQ goes down, Bitcoin tends to go down. And that's not the point here today, though. So something to point out here is on the weekly time frame, which we do have a clear downtrend. And so I guess we'll start off with what is a downtrend. So we want to see 2 lower highs and 2 lower lows than the previous lows. So starting out with this point right here. Let's see here. So we get our first, our first lower low would be right here, in fact. Lower than this low. Some would say the first lower low was right here. In fact, this would be considered a low, and this would be a lower low. In fact, this is a lower closing low. And then this would be your first lower high. And so if we clearly identify this as a lower point than this low, we got our first lower low, first lower high, and another closing lower low. And when I say closing, I'm not looking at the wicks here. I'm actually looking at the candle bodies. Second lower low and second lower high. And as you can see, if you identified this on the weekly chart, this was the beginning of the downtrend at 50,800 on the weekly time frame. And the weekly time frame does, in general, it's a more powerful time frame, and it's going to set the tone for the trend, typically for 6 to 12 months, and in some cases it can go for 12 to 18 months, 24 months. When you get a weekly downtrend, it is generally a bearish thing, and then on the other side, a weekly uptrend is typically going to be giving you that upside action for 6 to 12 months, 18 months, maybe 24 months, until you get a trend reversal. So what I would want to take a look at here as well is, as the guys are making coffee in the background, it is early this morning here at about 8 a.m. But I wanted to get this video done early today and just check something out. So do we have a trend reversal here as we put in another lower low, and we do get our first closing higher high, and we also got a higher low right here. So we got a higher closing low, 1, 2. So we get a higher low and a higher high, but we did not get another higher low. So you remember, you need 4 pivot points to identify. And what happens? The downtrend continues on to the downside. Another lower high here, another lower high. Okay, here we get a higher high and a higher low, higher high, but we do not get another higher low. In fact, we get another lower low, and downtrend continues. So what are we doing here? We are doing the same thing, and I am just going to ask the guys to tone it down a minute. Should probably get this little box out of here. So what else is going on here? So let's get into some lower term time frames and see if we can actually catch an uptrend versus a downtrend on the daily time frame here. We are still in a downtrend. So let's see if we can just begin to look at a bit of a trend reversal here on the daily time frame. So again, we're looking for a closing higher high and a higher low. So here would be the etchings of the first higher high right here. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and we did get a nice trend reversal there on the daily time frame that went for a move of about 30%, which is not too bad. And then as the trend reverses, where we made our first lower low, lower high, that's not a clear stop and reverse point. And that's something we're going to talk about as well. This is more of a consolidation and another lower high and a lower low. So downtrend is continuing. We got a higher high than this high right here. And do we get a higher low? So how do we confirm a higher low? Here's how I do it in my book, okay? A confirmed higher low is when you take, or not higher low, but at least a low being put in or a high being put in, is you want to see a closure above the prior wick. So in this case, this would be an identified low. In this case, would be an identified low. In this case, we'd be an identified low a low's here. A low would be, a confirmed low would be there. And really, this one would have been confirmed in my book above this wick right there. A little bit of a nuance here, but a confirmed low or high. This one would have been confirmed with a closure below that wick there. Confirmed here. And this is about to confirm another higher low. You know, and some would say, hey, you need to close kind of above this wick to confirm this as a low. This is more of a complex low. But I would say that, yes, anywhere closing above this pivot right here. Actually, did we do it on this closure? Yes, we did. The candle body closed above that wick, confirming this as a low, probably confirming some bullish divergence. And that's why we're getting a shot to the top side of the range currently on Bitcoin. So can we get a little extension up to that 20,671? Looks like it is in the cards for today. So anyways, that is on a daily time frame. Let's go to an even lower time frame to see where a clear uptrend is in place. So do we see anything on the 4-hour time frame? No, because we do not have 4 of the consecutive pivots. Let's see here. So we got, here's a higher high, higher low, but then we put in another lower high. Got another higher low, lower high, higher. So lower low, probably a lower high there, lower low. And now we put in the first higher high at this point right now. So we should be looking for a higher low, another higher high, and then we'd have a trend reversal on the 4-hour time frame. Let's go back here and see if we can see anything in this area. So we get a higher low, a higher high than this pivot, higher low, higher high, higher low, and then lower high. So trend inverted. And a bit of a consolidation there that ended up breaking down. Okay, here we go. Clear trend reversal. So we get the higher low, higher high, and a bit of a lower low again. So not really a trend reversal. Okay, here's a clear one. We get a higher high, a higher low, then you get the higher high, and another higher low. So trend reversal on the 4-hour time frame. So the smaller the time frame, the less powerful these trends are going to begin. Here is our first lower low, lower low, lower high. Okay. So here is where I'd identify this as a low on this candle closure. And then we get a higher low. So we get a higher high, higher low. And we do have 4 pivots right there, giving us a bit of a trend reversal on the 4-hour time frame. As you can see, this pivot, this pivot, this pivot, and this pivot. Let's see a greater reversal on the 4-hour time frame. So we get a, did we get a higher high there? Nope. Okay, so we get the higher low, higher high, higher low. So there is your 4 pivots right there. And that gets you a trend reversal on the 4-hour time frame after a nice little downtrend. So we've looked at a few uptrends. Let's try and catch a few downtrends. So here is your lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. 4-hour trend reversal brings you to the downside pretty nice. Do we have it again here? So lower low, lower high, not really on a closing basis because this was not confirmed with the candle body above this guy. So this would have been the low, and nope, no lower high. So trend reversal averted. And let's see if we can get another downtrend. Where's the start of the downtrend? That was a big downtrend right there. So if you caught this one, kudos to you. And this is just simply trading the trend on the 4-hour time frame. So here was your, was it a closing lower low? No, it was not. Okay, so we have the lower high. We get the lower low and lower high. There you go. So there's the 4 pivots we're looking at. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was your trend reversal, and that got you a nice move down. Let's see if we can get another 4-hour time frame reversal. Another big one right here. Let's see, where did it start is the question. So we get the first lower low right there, closing low, and a not really a lower high confirmed until we get right there. So here's our lower low, lower high. This is not, yeah, that is a higher low. So not really there. Not really there. Okay, here's a high and a low. Then we get a lower low right here and a lower high. So that would have been your confirmation of the downtrend, which certainly did play out pretty nice to the downside. I mean, it would have at least got you down to this pivot right here, which is a 11% move. Not too bad. Okay, so I think we covered enough of some of the nuances here. I'm going to try and get rid of all these little markups on the page here. I'm just going to go back in time and take a look at where we're at right now for purposes of, so how would we confirm this as a high? Really, I'd want to see a closure below this wick. Some more aggressive traders would take a closure below this wick. In particular, we got 40 minutes left on this candle. Let's see what the 1 hour says. So again, more of a complex high here. You know, some would say that technically speaking, on a closing basis, we are still getting the higher highs. Higher highs and higher lows all the way through. So it looks like still uptrend is in here. I'd want to see a candle body closure at least below this pivot at $20,041. Get your first lower low and then a lower closing high. And that would be a bit of a trend reversal on the 1 hour time frame. Let's see where we got another one here for a downside move. So we clearly have a lower low, lower high, and there's a higher low, lower high. Okay. So you can see the downtrend just continues. You get lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. Here's the first higher high, higher low, and a bit of a trend reversal on the hourly time frame. And I wouldn't have really confirmed it until we had this closure probably above this wick right there. That would have confirmed it for me, and you would have got a little upside move. But that downtrend, or excuse me, that uptrend didn't last very long. As you can see, we put in another lower high right there. And a lower low and a lower high, and then boom, trend reversal. So as you can see, trend trading can be very powerful, even on an hourly time frame, but more specifically on the weekly time frame. I'm just going to go back and give a couple more examples here. Let's see, Coinbase going back to 2015. So we got a low here, a high here, another higher low. That would have been a lower high. So we got higher low, higher high, and there's your 4 pivots for a trend reversal. And another higher low at this point, just barely by a smidge. And this was a rather large trend reversal in 2015. Bitcoin ran from the low of 180 to 770. Really didn't even have a pullback until I think $20,000. Yeah. So identifying that weekly trend is key for Bitcoin's price action. As I mentioned, 12 to 18 months is the typical weekly trend. So 2015, and that can get extended all the way up to 24 months. And this one extended, end of 2017. So this was, January 2015 to December 2017. So that was almost 3 years of up. And then what happened? On the weekly time frame, here is our first lower low, lower high. And where did it get confirmed? Really here on this candle, because you want to have a candle body closure below the wick. Some can just use candle bodies. That would have got it early. But very, very key here in identifying the downtrend all the way through. As you can see, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And this would have been your first kind of little fake out here. We had a, higher high and a higher low, but then we did not have the additional higher high. And that would have been key in saying, okay, downtrend continuing. Massive ascending triangle. Do we see any symmetry on what's going on right now? Just curious. Could that be a massive triangle? No, it doesn't look very confluent. However, something like this would be. Something like this would definitely be a descending triangle, which has a 75% chance of breaking to the downside, and it would be quite full. But we're not looking at triangles. We're looking at trend identification. Okay. So let's get on to our next slide. And what is our next slide? Here we go. Identifying pivots and swings. So a pivot or swing in price action is defined by a stop and reverse point in relation to that time frame. A swing high or swing low may be also defined as the highest or lowest price traded on a closing basis. So, again, I've really never found a good definition of how to identify the swing highs and swing lows. So, really, this is coming straight from me. The time frame is key. And taking out the prior wicks on the high or the low is key. I'll just go over a few examples, starting out with the monthly, but let's talk about this as well. So pivot points can be as simple as identifying a candle reversal formation, or for more complex patterns from multiple candles. The critical defining factor identifying a pivot is the clear change in direction from that price point in accordance with former trend that incorporates follow through. What is follow through is the continuation of price action in the direction of the prior reversal past the pivot point through the next pivot point in price action. So let's take a look at some pivots, swing high, swing lows, and how to identify the clear stop and reverse points. So can I be so lucky to get this up? Yep. So looking at swing highs and swing lows, I think we have some good examples actually back in 2018. Yes, right here we've got a pair of swing highs right here, clearly identified by taking out the prior wicks there. So that would be your swing high, and then swing low. That is the follow through right here, breaking through the candle body closure right below this pivot right there. And this would have been a swing low on the other side, confirmed with this candle closure above this wick. So we got a swing high, we've got a swing low, and another one confirmed right here. And where is the follow through? So you also want to identify follow through with volume. And for instance, this would be, would this be a swing low? Yeah, as we broke through it on the other side, we had follow through to the downside, giving us a lower low and continuing on with that trend with another lower high. So swing highs and swing lows. So here's two clear swing highs. Here's another one right here as we clearly took out that wick. That wick was not even barely a little smidge, a little piece of sand on the bottom of that guy. Let's take a look at the monthly. I'm going to put up the BLX chart, which is our longest price history for Bitcoin, and see, are we going back to the annals of time? So yeah, this is clearly a swing high with, do we have follow through? So this is the beginning of Bitcoin. May not be the best time, but we do clearly have a higher low and a higher high. Not a high here, as you can see, not a swing high. As you can see, we didn't take out the prior wick to the downside. So this is a doji candle, a symbol of indecision. And what happens? Indecision, indecision. And then we get the follow through to the upside. And here is the follow through as we break through the prior pivot high. So we've got the higher lows and the higher highs, and that was your game on signal for a massive rally to the upside as Bitcoin went from, wow, let's see if you took that signal, just trading the trend on the weekly time frame, we're talking about a 690% gainer. And would this be a swing low? Not in my book, as we did not take out the prior wick. Would this be a swing high? Potentially, yes, as you did have a candle body closure below this candle body, but looks like more of a complex higher low, right? As we did get a candle closure above this wick. So early price action is going to be iffy on this guy. So here was your downtrend on the weekly time frame for, when do we get the first higher high, higher low? Right here. Okay. So as we made a closing higher high, 678, put in a higher low right there in comparison to this low. That was your macro swing, and again, swing highs right there and a swing low coming in right there. As soon as we got the higher high and higher low, boom, trend reversal. So just notice how much time went by from this high to, well, taking out the previous high, that was December 2013, and this was until we really had a trend reversal, and perhaps you could have called this the higher high and this the higher low. I think this is more clearly identifiable, but this would have got it sooner, and that's kind of the difference between using candle bodies and wicks. So in this case, you had a closing higher candle body and a closing higher and a higher wick. So this is, a little bit of a nuance, but the more aggressive traders are going to trade based off of wicks. The more conservative traders are going to trade based off of candle body closures. And something to note here, these, would be considered higher lows, but not swing highs or swing lows. There we go. That is something to consider. Another higher low, but not a swing low. So where's our first swing low? Coming in right here on the monthly time frame, but still put in a lower high, and it was still down to the race, down to doggy town, as I would say. So a bit of a fake out. That was the coronavirus dump, and I think a lot of people got faked out on that one. But in a sense, that was your first higher high, higher low, lower high. Lower high on a candle body, and lower high on the candle body, a higher high on the candle body, but a lower high on the wick. So a little bit of a tough situation going into a coronavirus. So we had another lower low, and this is on a monthly time frame, a very, very powerful time frame. So you could perhaps use wicks on something like this if you wanted to be a little bit more aggressive. And we can see here, where's our first closing higher high, higher low, trend reversal, boom. So, excuse me. What I do want to line this up with, actually, as we got some nice little fib lines in here, is this is the monthly time frame for Bitcoin right now, as we're sitting at 19,229. Well, this is on the BLX, which is about a day late on price action. And dollar coming back up to 114. Okay. So as you can see, Bitcoin is actually at 20,158. BLX is like a day or a week late. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it does have the longest price action history for Bitcoin, which is nice. So on the monthly time frame, we are clearly still getting the lower lows. So this would be a swing low, and you could probably call that a swing high. Even though we did not take out the prior wick, we did wick above it, and it was a lower high. And then what happens? Lower low. And something else to note is when you get a big red candle that almost takes out the prior wick, usually close enough is close enough. Confirmation is below the wick, but I find it most situations, if you are, and it was a candle body closure lower than this guy. So that was kind of a key indicator that we're going to get continuation to the downside. We also had the follow through, and here would be the follow through in a sense on the lower high, lower low, and follow through with volume. This candle is like a big Marbozu, I believe they call it, or a long lower shadow, which is usually continuation to the downside. And if it's a green candle like that, it's usually continuation to the upside. However, some nuances there as well. And again, that would be the follow through, taking out this prior pivot as well. However, let's see if we're looking at the uptrend. So we got another higher low, higher high, and then again, a lower low below that low, and the lower high. That was the trend reversal on the weekly. So that caught you a big down move, right? As we had the follow through with a closure below the swing low of the prior low. So I hope this is making sense for you guys. I hope this is being helpful to you. And I guess I will try to identify some swing highs and swing lows on the lower term time frames. And I will get back onto my regular chart here. And that would be this guy. And I'm just going to put the 4 hour back on and maybe get rid of some of my. So again, a bit of a nuance here with this being our first higher high in a sense. What am I looking for here on the 4 hour time frame? Is typically a retest of this trend line. But in this case, I've been looking at this chart for many hours. If we do have a closure below this wick, I'll use a fib actually to get a measure move. That gets you down to 19.7. And if we start to close back below that region, I would call this a full-blown failed rally for Bitcoin. In fact, I don't even see any reason why Bitcoin is rallying at the moment, given the economic conditions, the dollar's strength, the stock market pulling back to new lows, and just, I imagine it's a bit of a relief bounce, a bit of a liquidity grab, and yeah. That's probably what's going on here. So needless to say, we're back on to uptrends and downtrends, swing highs and swing lows. And that's where you're going to see the clear stop and reverse points. So if I was looking at this chart here and I wanted to mark off some swing highs and swing lows, I would go like this. Boom, 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 boom. Here's a clear stop and reverse. Clear stop and reverse. This one's a bit iffy with the big wick and that. Yeah, so those are your clear pivots, and that's typically where you are going to begin to identify bullish and bearish divergence by identifying these swing highs and swing lows. You're going to be able to see that on the RSI, and we'll be getting into that in some later videos, but the main point here is identifying uptrends, downtrends, and what is a swing high and what is a swing low. So swing high and swing low right here. I guess you could mark it off like this. Swing low, swing high, swing high, swing low, and maybe another swing low and a swing high. So you get 6 pivots right there, and that's a higher high, higher low, lower high. You know, again, a bit of a nuance here. Is this a higher high or is it a higher low? So I like to, and something that I learned on TradingView, as I imagine you guys are going to set up TradingView, this little scroll bar, if you scroll up and down in here, it's going to move the screen like this. It took me, believe it or not, a long time to figure that out. So hopefully some of you new people will get that early. But on a closing basis, yeah, even on a wick basis, we have a higher low here. So I would call that a higher low. But we got another lower high and lower low and lower high. So that was your indicator that boom, boom, boom. We're heading back to the downside, and you can see that played out for a nice move to the downside. And then what happened? You had a bit of a trend reversal here, and where would we identify that? So if we're just using candles, not swing highs and swing lows, because this does not look like a swing high or swing low. here would have been your low and your high, right? So this would have been your higher high, and higher low right here. So you got those 4 pivots. I'll just mark them off here. Boom, 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 and boom. So there is your 4 keys, right? You want to have 4 pivots, a higher high and 2 consecutive higher lows, and then follow through comes right here. As we got a candle body closure above there with this wick, that's typically a bullish candle. Although it can be bearish, that could be identified as a gravestone. But in this case, it would have been a hammer, a reversal candle, a doji indecision, and then follow through. So another good indicator. And just so, whoop. Up to speed on what price action is doing at this very moment. So let's go down to a 15-minute here. See if we can see any swing highs or swing lows. And if we're just trading trend here on the 15-minute time frame, we've got a slew of lower highs based on candle bodies, right? There's a lower high, lower high, lower high. But do we have the lower low? Yes, we do. We do have it. And a 15-minute time frame is not necessarily the strongest time frame, but as you can see, it can still be powerful here. And a descending triangle right here before our very eyes. And that was your first lower low in comparison to this low. So let's identify the trend here. Right? Lower highs. There's your low. And that was the first closing lower low. Now we're getting the follow through. And can we line that up with our other indicators to get us a measure move down to this pivot right here, which I'd be willing to bet if you took your Fibonacci out and you took that swing high to the swing low, it does give you a target right here. Now, if you use wicks, if we get a candle body closure below this guy, that's getting you that move down to 1910, and we're taking out all the wicks, going all the way downtown there. So that will be our next topic of conversation here. So I hope I'm not giving out too information. I'm looking at some live price action. I've got some trades on the board, and I want to make sure I am keeping an eye on, but on this price action as I'm doing this video, needless to say. All right, so we've been talking a little bit about, we've been talking about pivots, identifying swing highs and swing lows. Hopefully that was enough on that. Now, how to trade trends, right? So we talked about identifying swing highs, swing lows, uptrends, downtrends, and how do we trade the trend? Well, trend trading can be done many ways successfully, but small differences make one strategy more attractive than the next in relation to the trader's personality. So are you more conservative? Are you more aggressive, right? Conservative trend traders will most likely wait for both a successive higher high and higher low to be confirmed before taking a position on a candle closure confirmation in the case of trading an uptrend reversal. On the other side of the fence here, more aggressive traders are going to trend trade. Trend trades will most likely wait for just one successive higher high or one successive higher low to be confirmed before entering a position on a candle closure confirmation in the case of trading an uptrend reversal. So we're going to talk about how to trade the uptrend aggressively and conservatively. And I'm just going to grab a sip of coffee left over. Yep. World's best boss. Somebody got that for me. You know who you are. Thank you, sir. All right. So we're talking about trading an uptrend. More conservatively, yes, more conservatively. So let's get back onto a easier time frame like the 4 hour. So we got our first low, that would be on a wick basis. Okay, let's talk about candle body closures and how to trade the trend. On a more conservative basis, remember, we want to see those 4 pivots, right? Which is the higher high, the higher low, and the higher high. So how would we have I'm going to give you both examples, more aggressive and more conservative, right? Because this is going to be easier to do. And actually, I'm going to do it separately for your sakes. Let's get back in here. Okay. Uptrend. We're looking for an uptrend on the 4 hour time frame. So we get the higher low, we get the higher high, we get the higher low confirmed right here, and that would not have been the best trade unless you traded it like this, which you would put your risk management below the prior wick. So I'm going to identify the higher low, the higher high, and the higher low. So what you typically want to do if you're going to trade something like this, based on a trend, is you put your your stop loss below the prior wick, which would have put below this wick. And depending upon your take profit measures, but that would have netted you a pretty decent profit. Even if you took it based off of a candle body closure, which would have been confirmed right here. How much would you have made if you traded it perfectly? 2.5%. Not bad. Okay, that was a hourly trend reversal to the upside. Let's look at this one right here. I already have it marked off. And you've got the swing highs and swing lows, right? And I believe we were looking at this on the weekly time frame, and that's why it's marked up. Nope. It would have been on the daily time frame. Nope. I guess it does make sense on the 4 hour. I don't think that was the example I was looking at. Uptrend, uptrend. Trading an uptrend. There we go. That's where we're talking about. So you get, I guess some of these things need to get taken off because they're just a bit confusing. So let's take them off and start to look for trading the uptrend based off of candle body closures. So we're getting lower lows. Okay, here's a higher low. Higher low, higher high. There we go. That was the trend reversal. So you get your first higher high right here, higher than these highs right here, right? Here's your higher low, and excuse me. This would have been your higher high right here. So that would have been your confirmation. You would have entered in right here. Risk management below the prior wick right there. And depending upon your take profit measure, you would have been in this trade, hopefully to somewhere in this zone right here. And we'll go over trading strategies in another video, but just for simplicity's sake, talking about 11% gainer on the 4-hour time frame. Let's see if we can get another 4-hour uptrend confirmation and show you a failure, because this is not going to work every time. That's statistical probabilities, and whether you're more conservative or aggressive, it's going to be different ideas for you and your trading preferences. But in this case, we do have a bit of a reversal right here. So in comparison to this low, we have a higher low, right? In comparison to this high, we've got the higher high. So you got your 4 points. It would have been confirmed on this candle body closure right here. And where would your risk management be? Below here or below here, depending upon your preferences. So I'll just adjust this right here. And I'm starting to mention some of these nuances like stop losses and take profits. But that's what would have been your stop loss, and potentially up in that region. But even if you entered on the worst possible case here, you would have had a 3.8% gainer. Okay, so I think that's enough examples of how to enter into a trend trade on some of the different time frames based off of candle body closures. The next example I want to give is more aggressive traders will most likely wait for one successive higher high or higher low to be confirmed before entering a trade. So one higher high or higher low, and we can see how the more aggressive traders will either make more money or lose more money. And then we're going to do it for the downside, and then we're going to call it a wrap, because we are about an hour into this video, probably boring you guys to death by now. And let's get into it. Okay, based off of candle wicks, you're waiting for one higher high, and then you're not going to wait for the higher low, right? So here would have been an example of entering into the trade before the higher low, and you would have got a similar entry unless you were waiting for swing lows. So as soon as you got a higher high right there, closing higher high, boom. In this case here, you got a higher high, boom, you entered. Okay, here might be a good example. Your first higher high right here, you enter. Yeah, versus entering right here. So would have got it a little bit sooner. I'm a more conservative trader. If anybody knows me, that's kind of my MO, is you want to protect as much money as you can and wait for confirmation. On this trade, you would have had your first higher high right here. You would have entered, depending upon your risk management. Let's say it's the prior wick. You could have had a little gainer. And in this case, if you were looking for entry, well, you already had kind of the higher high, higher low. So hopefully you would have entered lower. 4-hour time frame. So entering based off of the first higher high This would have been your first higher high right here, closing higher than this high. And I would say that would have been a failed move. Yeah, even if you had your stop loss right there below the prior wicks. In this case, first higher high right here, higher closing high than this high, you would have entered and had a nice gainer. In this case right here, your first higher high would have been right there and nice gainer. In this case, first closing higher high would have entered here, and hopefully you had some sort of take profit mechanism in this range right here for a small gainer. Making lower lows, lower highs. Okay, first higher high, you would have entered here, and that probably would have been a failed move. Depending upon your trading strategy below the prior wick. Too much risk if you ask me on that trade. This one, first higher high, closing higher high, boom. And you would have entered. Okay, so that's the more aggressive way to trade those higher highs. And then let's take a look at how to trade trends on the downside. So again, conservative trend traders will most likely wait for both a successive lower high and lower low. Aggressive trend traders will most likely wait for a lower high or lower low to be confirmed, entering a position on a candle closure confirmation in the case of trading the downtrend. As you likely guessed, there can be times of fake outs. To avoid the likelihood of a fake out, it's best to consult with the higher time frames and wait for candle closures. Did I miss something up here? Okay, conservative trend traders will most likely wait for both successive higher high and higher low to be confirmed before taking position on a candle closure confirmation in the case of trading an uptrend reversal. So that is pretty much, that is it. I did hopefully wrap up this video with, let's just look at a higher term time frame real quick. Higher highs, higher lows, conservative trades, and then lower highs and lower lows, okay? On the weekly time frame, which is a higher term time frame, more powerful time frame. And let's just look at the current price action to see where we are at in the grand scheme of things. So I really want to get rid of some of these little dots here. Just marking up my chart all over the place. Boom, boom, boom. Oh yeah, got to hear the lovely sales team in the background, hopefully. And boy, do they enjoy these TA videos. And do they enjoy just sitting down and going over TA? You know, we all are gay for TA over here. But yeah, so looking at this trend here, if we're more conservative, we're looking for the higher low and higher high. And swing highs and swing lows in particular are going to be very, very important here. So where is the swing highs and swing lows? If we're waiting for confirmation. So we already kind of went over this, but I will more specifically identify this. This was the, and I'm just going to get rid of this pivot right now for now. I'm going to even get rid of this trend line so it looks more clean. So if we're going based off of candle bodies, here's your first higher high, higher low, higher high, but then a lower low. Okay, so downtrend continues. Now we get a lower low, lower low, would this be considered a higher high? No, that is a lower high, as we just got confirmation. Look, again, I said nuance. Closing below this wick here is going to, that would have been your first higher low right here. Higher low, lower high. And even if we close this wick, this week, above this wick, that would be a lower low. And I would be looking for another lower high. But if we wanted to look for the trend reversal on the weekly time frame, this might be a pretty easy way to do it. In fact, I'd want to see a candle body closure. So I want to see candle body closure above here. And then a higher low somewhere in this region. And then another higher high. And that would be the follow through right there. That would be the confirmation. Weekly downtrend averted. And we can talk about some really nice upside price targets. And I would probably, get the fib out right here and use that high to low to get a target somewhere up to around 27 to 33,000. But that is not the case at the moment. We need to wait for the closure. So that, again, we're still in this downtrend. I would expect another lower high coming in if the trend is to continue, and the trend is your friend until the end of the trend. And by the way, this can be used on all assets, whether you're talking stocks, bonds, gold, silver, cryptocurrency. You can read the charts in the same direction. But here was a nice example of a trend reversal on the weekly time frame, which did not last very long, which was odd. There are going to be these one-offs or these, nothing is guaranteed in cryptocurrency land or in trading in general. It's just statistics and probabilities. And what happened here? So we had another lower high, lower low. First higher high, higher low. Okay, boom, confirmation right here. That's when you would have put in your long and you would have got a nice shot off of that. I mean, we're talking about 43%, not bad. Not bad at all, if you ask me. Yeah, that would have been, if you're using, swing low, there's just no swing high there. That's the problem. So you would have, for the weekly time frame, you would have had to been using candles to identify that downtrend in the early stages. But the later stages, swing high, swing low, okay, trend reversal, and you expect more downside. However, what happens here? You get a higher high than this high. So I think, again, some nuance. If it's not a clear stop and reverse point like this and like this, then there is a bit of a nuance to it. This would be considered a high. This would be considered a high, and this would not, because we did not break out it's a candle body higher high, and this is a higher low, and this would have been a lower high confirmed there. And yeah, pretty good easy to identify that downtrend, right? Because you had this lower low, lower high, trend reversal, right? So the 4 points would have been right here. There's the low, there's the high, there's the lower low, lower high, and the follow through right there. All right, that is going to wrap up this video for trend identification. I hope it serves you well, and I hope you have a blessed and highly favored day, and all this information just sinks in as fast as possible. And I would recommend you watch it over and over and really go back and do your own testing of how to trade the trend more aggressively, more conservatively, and come with a style that fits your needs. All right, I'm signing out. Take care.